At this point, I feel like everyone has heard of the Pokemon Living Dex, an overarching challenge in Pokemon where you collect one of every single Pokemon in the Pokedex. This is inherently a difficult task, since it requires owning many games and often many separate 3DS and Nintendo Switch systems. But for the hardcore Pokemon fan, this challenge can be too easy. Recently, I've seen more challenging versions of the Living Dex appear, such as the Origin Dex, where you capture every Pokemon in the first game they were available, or the Pokeball Dex, where you capture every Pokemon in a regular Pokeball. Today, I'd like to introduce you to an even more difficult and actually impossible Living Dex challenge, the Cherish Dex. Now, the premise of the Cherish Dex is simple. Create a living Pokedex of only Pokemon caught in the Cherish Ball. Easy enough, right? Wrong. There is no Pokemon game in which you can obtain the Cherish Ball as an item to throw at wild Pokemon. The only way to get Cherish Ball Pokemon is from events, and the vast majority of those are time-limited and distributed from Nintendo. So, this is not a challenge that you can make a lot of progress on quickly. Rather, you must slowly collect Dex entries over time as Nintendo makes them available through various events. I mentioned previously that this challenge is currently impossible, so this video will focus on determining how far one could theoretically go in the Cherish Dex challenge, and how you would go about doing it. But quickly, I will prove that the Cherish Dex is impossible. First, we'll start by going in Pokedex order. First is Bulbasaur, who has been available in many events, including the fairly recent Pokemon Home event in 2021. Ivysaur and Venusaur are both obtainable by evolving Bulbasaur. Charmander has also been available in many events. The most recent is the 2016 World Championships, and Charmeleon and Charizard are available by evolving that Cherish Ball Charmander, and from other events. Squirtle has been available in many events, including the 2021 Home event, so Wartortle and Blastoise are also both available in the Cherish Dex. And then we come to Caterpie. The first ever Cherish Ball distribution was done in 2007, and in the 16 years since 2007, there has never been an event which distributed Caterpie. Since we can't get a Cherish Ball Caterpie, we can never complete a living national Dex in Cherish Balls, so the Cherish Dex is currently impossible. Even though it's currently impossible to complete a Cherish Dex, I want to talk about the strategies you can use to make progress, and then determine how many Cherish Ball Pokemon are currently released. First, the strategies. The first strategy needed for the Cherish Dex is evolving event Pokemon. This probably feels intuitive, but let me explain. There are lots of Pokemon families where an earlier evolution has been distributed in an event, but a later evolution has not. So, you need to evolve to obtain the final evolution in a Cherish Ball. A recent example of this is Clefairy and Clefable. Clefable has never been distributed in an event before, but Clefairy was distributed for the first time last year for the Pokemon Singapore Championships livestream. So, even though Clefable has never directly been released, it can be added to your Cherish Dex by evolving this Clefairy. This leads me to strategy number 2, which goes hand in hand with strategy 1, using multiple save files. In the example I just described, Clefairy has been distributed only one time. So, if you were to participate in this event with one save file, you could only ever add Clefairy or Clefable to your Cherish Dex, not both. So, a good strategy is to have multiple save files and to redeem each event multiple times. In this case, if you were to redeem Clefairy on 2 different save files, you could evolve one and then add both Clefairy and Clefable to your Cherish Dex. In the past, this was an expensive strategy, since the DS and 3DS stored save files on the game card, so you would need to buy multiple copies of the game. But on the Nintendo Switch, you can create multiple Switch profiles, and after linking them to separate Nintendo accounts, you can claim multiple of the same mystery gift for free. So going forward, this strategy is essential. Strategy 3 is a bit of a cop-out, but it's to live in Japan. Over the years, Japan has gotten significantly more event distributions than anywhere else in the world, thanks to it being the birthplace of Pokemon. Countless in-person events have distributed Pokemon locally or with serial codes that were never released elsewhere, so living in Japan is a must. Okay, with that out of the way, I want to share the current theoretically complete Cherish Dex. Keep in mind that actually completing this Dex would require you to attend almost every virtual and in-person Pokemon distribution that has ever happened all over the world since 2007, often with multiple save files. This would be absolutely absurd, since keeping up with all of these events around the world in real time for the past 16 years would be its own full-time job. So, I will present the theoretical maximum Cherish Dex. As a quick note, I compiled this list by cross-referencing the Cerebi lowest Pokeball database, the Cerebi event Dex, the Project Pokemon event Dex, and Bulbapedia. It took a lot of work, and there's a chance I missed 1 to 2 Pokemon from obscure old events, but I'm confident I got nearly all of them. Without further ado, here it is. This is the current complete Pokemon Cherish Dex as of July 2023. Over time, this list will grow as Nintendo hosts more distributions of new Pokemon, but for now, this is every possible Cherish Dex entry. It's worth noting that in this graphic, I've ignored language, shininess, and regional forms, so I'm showing the icon for a Pokemon if it was ever available in any form, in any language, shiny or not, in a Cherish Ball. I think this is a reasonable restriction, since Cherish Ball Pokemon are already so restricted. Looking at this graphic, we can see a few interesting trends. Firstly, almost every legendary and mythical Pokemon is available. This isn't too surprising, since legendaries and mythicals are meant to be rare and special, and so they pop up quite often for special events. We can also see that a lot of starters are represented, especially for earlier generations. Besides that, there are generally lots of final stage evolutions, but often the earlier forms are unavailable, since many distributions release only the final evolution. Other than that, the available Pokemon are somewhat random. Okay, so now we can ask an interesting question. What is the rarest Cherish Ball Pokemon? I want to share 2 runner-ups, and then I'll share what I think is the rarest. The first runner-up is Tropius. Tropius has only ever been distributed 1 time, and it was the first ever Cherish Ball distribution. It was available for only 10 days, and you had to physically attend an event in Japan in 2007. Because there was no precedent for Cherish Ball Pokemon before this event, and the fact that the event was in person 16 years ago, Cherish Ball Tropius is very rare. The second runner-up is Feebas. Unlike Milotic, who has been distributed numerous times, Feebas has only been distributed once, at a very brief, obscure, in-person event. On July 4th and 5th of 2009, the Shinsegae department store in Seoul, South Korea distributed a Cherish Ball Feebas at alternating hours between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. So, in order to have Feebas in your Cherish Dex today, you needed to physically attend this one Korean department store on one of 2 days in 2009, and then go during the correct alternating hour to receive this instead of the other distribution, Munchlax. Then you needed to not evolve it in the past 14 years. So, Cherish Ball Feebas is extremely rare, but it is not the rarest. And finally, the rarest Cherish Ball Pokemon is Pikachu! Haha, I'm just kidding guys. Pikachu gets a new event distribution like twice a year. It's definitely the most common. The real rarest Cherish Ball Pokemon is Kleavor. Kleavor is a special Cherish Dex Pokemon because it's new, and it has never had a Cherish Ball event distribution. Okay, no biggie. So we have to evolve a Cherish Ball Scyther. Well, the only time Cherish Ball Scyther was ever released was during the in-person Trade for Evolution event in Japan in 2010. This event ran for almost 2 months, so it doesn't initially seem that rare, but that is because the event traveled between Japanese universities. So, you had to go to one of the various event sites during this time frame and receive the Pokemon. Right? Also wrong. This event highlighted Trade Evolution Pokemon and only allowed you to receive one of the 8 Pokemon randomly. So, in order to obtain a Cherish Ball Kleavor, you needed to attend this specific event in Japan in 2010, randomly receive a Scyther via the 1 in 8 chance, and then defy the very theme of this event and choose not to evolve it. Then you needed to save it for 11 years, transport it through Pokemon Bank and home up to Legends Arceus, and evolve it there. The odds that anyone in the world has done this extremely specific 11-year journey seem so enormously small, I would be surprised if there are any legitimate Cherish Ball Cleavor in the world at all. But it is theoretically possible. Okay, to end off the video, I want to examine how much Living Dex progress you could make today if you owned every Pokemon game. The vast majority of Cherish Ball Pokemon are distributed in time-locked events, but not all are. There are 4 Cherish Ball Pokemon that you can get today: Magearna, Melmetal, Mew, and Fione. Magearna is available in Pokemon Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon by scanning a QR code after beating the Elite Four. The QR code has no expiration date, and so this Cherish Ball Magearna is available indefinitely. The second is Melmetal, which is received as a mystery gift in Pokemon Home after transferring one Pokemon from Pokemon Go, which is a super easy task to do. Finally, Mew and Fione are available in the WiiWare game My Pokemon Ranch. Unfortunately, the Wii eShop has shut down, but if you bought this game on your Wii before it shut down, you can play it forever. This game is a weird one, but essentially after depositing lots of Pokemon from Diamond and Pearl into your Wii, you gain the ability to trade with Haley, the main character in Ranch, for her Mew and Fione. So, even with access to every Pokemon game, you can only get a total of 4 Cherish Ball Pokemon at any given time. Alright, that is my introduction to the Cherish Dex. It's an absurd, impossible task, but at the same time, it's one that's cool to gradually work towards and to analyze. Leave a comment down below of your rarest and favorite Cherish Ball Pokemon, and be sure to let me know if there's an obscure event or 2 that I missed. Be sure to keep an eye out for future videos. Until next time.